Today's question was sent in by Walter, and it is, what are your thoughts on the very popular supplement AG1? Welcome to Ask Josh. I'm looking forward to getting into the nitty-gritty of AG1. It's promoted across the webosphere, and most people know about it at this point. Now, I've got the ingredients printed up here in front of me to be able to see them a lot better because it's almost impossible to read them off of the label. But I'm going to be discussing a lot of specific ingredients, and what I'll be presenting can be carried over to looking for other high quality supplements as well. So I think you're going to learn a lot from our discussion here, especially because there's so many ingredients in this product. So firstly, we can break this product down into about 4 parts. They've included a bunch of vitamins and minerals. They've included a superfood and prebiotic complex, a daily phytonutrient complex, and some probiotics. We'll first talk about the nutrients that they've added here. Now, you're going to be able to get some nutrients from the actual whole foods that they've included here, the whole food powders, but they've fortified it with a bunch of different, what we might call synthetic nutrients. I say synthetic, not necessarily that they're bad, but that they were created in a lab for the most part. Now, I'm not going to go through each one, but I will highlight a few key ingredients here. The first one being vitamin C. There's about 500 milligrams of vitamin C in the form of ascorbic acid. Now, vitamin C, being a water-soluble vitamin, is fairly easy to absorb, so no major absorption issues with that form that's used. Ascorbic acid is extremely inexpensive. It's the cheapest form of vitamin C, which is fine. But we want to also think about what's taking up the real estate in this supplement. If you're paying for a powder of some sort that contains all these nutrients, we want to make sure the real estate is thought through really well. And there's 500 milligrams, which is a pretty good dose of vitamin C for one serving of this. The second nutrient I want to bring to your attention is riboflavin, or vitamin B2. Now, when it comes to the B vitamins, there's actually different forms of the B vitamins. There's the less bioavailable forms, and there's the highly bioavailable forms. They've included the bioavailable forms of some of the B vitamins. For example, B6 is included as pyridoxal 5-phosphate, which is the most active form of that nutrient. But the riboflavin, which they've only really included 2 milligrams, is not the most active form. That would be riboflavin 5-phosphate. So they've used some really high quality versions here, but some they've skimped on a little bit as well. Folate they've included as 5-methyl tetrahydrofolate. This is the most active form and the one that agrees with most people's bodies. We always have to be careful with supplements that have folate in them, or folic acid as it's sometimes written on the label, because some people can't metabolize the synthetic form of folic acid properly. And they actually create a byproduct in their body that's toxic. So that's a certain subset of the population, but just to cover all the bases and to make sure everyone's okay with it, we always want to make sure the 5-MTHF version is in supplement form. So good one there. Now, the calcium in here is about 120 milligrams. I think that's an okay dose for this product. It's in the form of calcium citrate, which is okay absorption. It's not the best, it's not the worst for calcium. There are better forms of calcium for absorption, like microcrystalline hydroxyapatite complex. When it's included the calcium in there, it's highly absorbable. And there's worse forms, like calcium carbonate. Calcium carbonate is basically chalk, yes, chalk that you would draw on a chalkboard with, and it's very poorly absorbed. So good thing that that's not in there. Iron is in here at a dosage of about 2.5 milligrams. Now, I'm not such a huge fan when iron are in supplements like these because not everyone needs iron. I'm only supplementing iron in my clients when we have a confirmed anemia or iron deficiency. Men and children and non-menstruating women are typically going to be able to store more iron and recycle the iron that they have. It's really only menstruating women that need to be more aware of getting enough iron on a regular basis, and kids if they're not eating it in their diet. Iron's obviously extremely important for carrying oxygen around the body, for making hemoglobin, so we need to make sure that there's iron. But I'm not a fan of taking extra supplemental iron. I get enough in my diet that way. The magnesium form is split between two different ones, dimagnesium malate and magnesium glycinate. Magnesium glycinate's a really great form of magnesium and highly absorbable, so I like that that's in there. Albeit there's only 30 milligrams of magnesium in here. Typically when I'm supplementing people on magnesium, we're starting at 200 milligrams of magnesium glycinate. So this is, of course, including a lot of ingredients in here, but it's not really much to make a huge difference. The zinc is actually quite high. Zinc citrate is at 20 milligrams for a dose, so that's pretty good. The selenium is at 22 micrograms. An interesting aside is that one Brazil nut equals, on average, 100 micrograms of selenium. So you can actually get your daily selenium needs just by eating 1 to 4 Brazil nuts a day. That's very cool. It's really great when whole foods contain therapeutic levels of certain nutrients, and Brazil nuts definitely fit the bill there. They've included 40 grams of sodium in here. Now, again, I don't really like that they've taken up real estate with sodium, because sodium is just so easy to get from your diet, or a little sprinkle of salt, which is basically sodium chloride for the most part. If it's sea salt, it has all the other minerals in there as well, but again, still, it's mostly sodium chloride. So throwing a little bit of sodium in there, I'm not a huge fan of. I have to also mention that they have 60 milligrams of coenzyme Q10 in the AG1. That's a pretty hefty dose. I'm quite impressed that that's in there. Now, CoQ10 is a fat-soluble nutrient. We call them accessory nutrients. If you're not consuming fat with the supplement, you're going to have much less absorption of the fat-soluble nutrient. This is typically recommended to take it without food with some water. So that's really going to inhibit the absorption of the CoQ10 that's in there, even though there's a really nice dose of CoQ10 in the supplement. Now, moving on to the superfood and prebiotic complex. My biggest beef with certain supplements is when they say proprietary blend, or if they have a bunch of ingredients under one specific dosage amount. The example here, they've got 7.5 grams of this superfood and prebiotic complex, and I'm going to dive into some of the ingredients here to discuss them further. My first issue is that I have no idea how much of any of these specific ingredients, it looks like there's about 10 or 15, there are in here. And the first ingredient is organic apple powder. Do you want to be paying for powderized apples when you can literally just take one bite of an apple and probably get the amount that's in here? So I'm not such a huge fan when we're paying for a specific supplement that they throw things in there that are super simple to get from the diet or extremely cheap to get in the diet, and apples would be one of them. The second ingredient is pea protein isolate. Again, I'm sort of thinking, is that a filler? Like, why do they have pea protein isolate in a superfood prebiotic complex? It's a bit out of place in my opinion. Now, the next ingredient, organic spirulina, I'm super pumped about. I love that they've put spirulina in there. It's not something you would typically get in your diet. It's a blue-green algae. It's fairly strong tasting, but it packs a mean nutritional punch. So I'm really happy that they have this spirulina in there. And actually a little bit later on in the ingredient list, chlorella, which is also a blue-green algae. And that's not something we would typically get in the diet. So it's nice that it's in a supplement form. The next ingredient is lecithin, which is an emulsifier. It's used in a lot of foods as emulsifiers to help make the fat more palatable and things more tasty. It's used in chocolate a lot. Again, a bit of a filler in there. I don't know how many people need a little bit of lecithin there. When we use it therapeutically with clients, we're doing pretty high dosages of lecithin for various things like supporting the nervous system, for liver detoxification, or if there's cholestasis of the liver, for gallbladder issues. So the lecithin in there is not a huge bonus. There's inulin powder. Inulin is a great prebiotic. Citrus bioflavonoid extract. Bioflavonoids work synergistically with vitamin C, so I'm happy that both of those are in there. And again, that's not something we would really typically get large amounts of in the diet. Ginger root powder. Now, they're getting into some of the herbals here. Ginger's pretty inexpensive. I don't know if I would want it in a supplement like this. Typically, if I'm using ginger with someone, we're using it for very specific purposes. Like a digestive mimetic, anti-nausea effect, amazing anti-inflammatory ginger. Cocoa bean powder, very high in antioxidants. We know chocolate and cacao are loaded with antioxidants, so that's nice. Licorice root powder, not really something that I would consume on a daily basis, so it's nice that it's in there. Really great for supporting digestion. And helps with adrenal health as well. Then we have bromelain, which is an enzyme, which might help with breaking down some of the ingredients in here. Beta-glucan. Beta-glucan is a type of carbohydrate that comes from typically mushrooms. It could come from other foods as well, and it's amazing for the immune system. Artichoke aerial parts. So artichoke aerial part extract, excuse me. So artichoke we use a lot for helping with liver detoxification. It's an amazing way to help move stuff through the liver. Again, I love that it's in there, but I don't know how much is in there at all. Slippery elm bark powder is very soothing. It's got great prebiotics. Rhodiola root is a fantastic adaptogen. Astragalus, really good for the immune system. Cocoa seed extract, we talked a little bit about before from the same plant. Organic matcha leaf powder. Now, green tea, which of course is matcha, is amazing for its antioxidant power. It's got the catechins in there, and they have been shown to be amazing for the skin, help to prevent immune issues, and just all in all, a really great food to have in your diet, whether you're having green tea or you're eating the leaf whole. I would be concerned with someone who's extremely sensitive to caffeine because I have, again, no idea how much is in there. So it's possible that the product could be stimulating for someone if they're taking it later in the day. Matcha. Ashwagandha is in there as well. Ashwagandha is a fantastic adaptogen, helps to lower cortisol. Not such a fan of someone taking it if they have low cortisol to begin with, because it's going to have an extra effect on that. And that wouldn't really be my goal with someone with low cortisol. But that, of course, goes back to the individual. Dandelion, another great liver detoxifier, and eleuthero. So we've got quite the mishmash of ingredients in there. A lot of them are great, but again, I don't know how much of each of them are in this combination. And if I was going to tweak this superfood and prebiotic complex a little bit more, I would really just stick with some of the things that you would typically not be able to get in your diet at all, like the spirulina and the chlorella, and ramp those up a little bit and take out some of the things that would be so easy to get, like apple. Okay, moving on to the phytonutrient complex portion of it, which is 1.5 grams. It's not a huge amount. If you think about it, like a big gel capsule, maybe not a gel cap, but a capsule that you typically take as a supplement is about 1 gram. That's really the most you could fit of most ingredients in that capsule. So it's like 1.5 capsules or 2 capsules of this stuff. Now, the first ingredient is broccoli powder. Now, that's another thing that, firstly, I don't know how much is in there. I love that there's broccoli powder in there because it's a powerful food. It's got sulfur in there that helps with detoxification. It's got a lot of other great ingredients. But whole broccoli made into a powder, you're not really going to get a big bang for your buck. What I would much more prefer would be broccoli sprout powder, which is about 30 times more powerful than broccoli itself. And there are greens out there that use the sprout of the broccoli, and I'm a lot happier with those types of ingredients. The second item here is papaya fruit powder. So if you've ever had a papaya, you know it's a delicious, juicy fruit. If we're powderizing it, we're probably only getting a very small amount of it. And again, it's something that we could just eat in our diet. We don't necessarily need to supplement with it and be paying for that ingredient to be powderized. Same thing with beetroot powder. The fourth ingredient here, organic wheatgrass leaf powder, I really like as well, because I would never in a million years eat wheatgrass leaf. I don't know if you've ever tried wheatgrass juice, but it's a potent brew. Eating the leaf, eating grass is just not something that's going to happen for a lot of us or any of us. So putting it in a powder in a supplement form, I'm down with, because we're not going to get it any other way. Organic alfalfa leaf powder, same situation. Organic barley leaf powder, same thing. Carrot root powder. Here's another vegetable, here's another ingredient that is easily incorporated into a regular diet, and I don't necessarily need to be paying for it in a supplement. The acerola fruit, very high in vitamin C, really great natural source of vitamin C, one of the top sources of vitamin C in nature, so that's great that that's in there. Same with rosehip fruit. Then we have pineapple fruit, again, another very common food that we could eat. Then we have shiitake mushroom powder, reishi mushroom powder, a couple medicinal mushrooms in there. Reishi and shiitake are two of the top medicinal mushrooms, with a lot of those beta-glucans we were talking about earlier, and really great at modulating the immune system. They're a powerhouse. However, as indicated on the label, they've used shiitake and reishi mushroom powder. Now, it's extremely difficult to extract the medicinal properties of mushrooms unless they're cooked or unless they're extracted with, say, alcohol or both, sometimes a double extraction. So what you want to look for whenever you're looking for a medicinal mushroom powder is to make sure that it's an extract. That means that it's been either boiled for a long period of time and that liquid has been dehydrated and made into a soluble extract, or it's been pulled out by alcoholic extraction, or both. And you're going to get the biggest bang for your buck for the medicinal properties if you do it that way. And make sure that the ingredients are in that form. We have rutin, which is a bioflavonoid, really great for blood vessel integrity. Rosemary leaf extract, really great antioxidants in there. Bladderwrack whole plant power, which has high amounts of iodine. Wolfberry, another great antioxidant fruit. Burdock root, which is great for detoxification. It's also known as a blood cleanser in herbal medicine. Hawthorn berry fruit, really great for the heart and cardiovascular system. Bilberry fruit, great for the eyes and the blood vessels. Milk thistle, which is one of the top detoxifiers of the liver. And grapeseed extract, also with great antioxidants. So there's some really great ingredients in here. However, again, I don't know what the dosage of each one of these are, and there could be things that are easily consumed in your diet, in food, taking up valuable real estate. Okay, moving on to the last section here. If you've stuck with me this far, you're learning a lot about supplements, and again, you'll be able to apply this to a lot of other different supplements when you're looking for the quality goods. Finally, they have a probiotic blend, some lactobacillus in a few different forms, bifidobacterium species. And they put that in there indicating that it's 10 billion viable cells. So about 37 milligrams, but that's 10 billion viable cells. That's what we want to be aware of when we're ever looking at probiotics on a label. Now that's probably, unless otherwise noted, at the time of manufacture, 10 billion. What you want to look at with probiotics is the amount of probiotics at time of expiry. So if it said 10 billion at time of expiry, we know that when they're creating the product, they're actually putting in way more than 10 billion because they're allowing for some die-off. Now, my issue with the fact that there's probiotics in here is that there's actually some ingredients in the formula that don't work with probiotics too well in this type of matrix. In other words, they're going to degrade and destroy the probiotics that are in here. That's kind of one issue. The other issue is that this product is probably not refrigerated for most of its life until you open it, and then it actually says that you should refrigerate it. So if you're following the instructions on the label, then you're putting it in the refrigerator and maybe preserving the life of some of the probiotics. When we're consuming probiotics, I like to get the probiotic by itself and use it very specifically for specific situations in specific dosages. If you're just looking for a little bit of a general boost to your microbiome and you want a few probiotics, by all means, doing it this way is okay. And there's actually some research that shows that dead probiotics have some benefits. So it's not a complete loss if some of the organisms are dead by the time you consume it. Okay, the final kind of point on this whole thing is that some of the ingredients are organic and some are not organic. Whenever you're concentrating something, you definitely want to make sure we're dealing with 100% organic or something just as good, because if you're concentrating the nutrients and taking that regularly, you'll also be concentrating any toxins that are in that food. So if they were grown using pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, or they're in an environment that had undesirable chemicals, you're going to be concentrating those and consuming a lot of them over a period of time if you're consistent with your product. So my final evaluation of AG1 is that it's got some really good things going for it. It's got some areas of improvement. I believe that there's probably some better products out there if you want the best bang for your buck. Perhaps I'll cover that in a future video. And for most people, I think they're going to benefit greatly from taking AG1. But I think there's better products that we can use if we're spending our dollar. Thank you so much for joining me for Ask Josh. We'll see you again next time.